Hello. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. You're welcome. Thank you for joining this session. Thank you for being part of this masterclass where I will be talking about things I learned, I wished I knew before my child became an adolescent. So while I wait for people to join, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Oluwatoyin Ogunkomi. Okay, someone has joined already. Okay, thank you very much for joining. I would like you to type in your name. Let me know where you're watching from. And also, if you have adolescents, how many are they? How many children? How many adolescents do you have? And what are their ages? It would be really nice if we can have those information in the comment section. Thank you very much. So, my name is Oluwatoyin Ogunkomi. For those who don't know me, for those who will be watching this later, I'm the founder of Parental Support System. I'm a psychologist. I'm also a family life practitioner. I help parents to create a serene home environment where they can raise well-balanced children, where they can raise their children into well-balanced adults who are functional and adults who can contribute to the larger society. So you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining. You're welcome. You're welcome to this masterclass. And like the title goes, things I wished I knew before my child became an adolescent. And each time I tell the story, it's to encourage parents out there, to encourage other parents of adolescents out there that see, you're going through a phase that I know very soon you become better. And what happened during my journey into adolescence, into my journey as a parent of adolescents, was that my first son, he actually transited from childhood into adolescence smoothly. I didn't really have any issue with him, only for my second child to become an adolescent, and everything went wrong. From him always getting angry, from him getting moody, from him wanting to have his way, from him, so many things. I was like a shock because this particular child, while growing up, has always been a loving person, someone that loves on his younger sister, someone that loves on his parents, someone that loves to all, very loving child. Only for him to become an adolescent, and I saw, in fact, the behaviors he was exhibiting at that point in time was kind of a shock to me. I was like, what? Where is this coming from? I used most of my tools in parenting as a parenting coach, and I realized that I was not getting it. I just couldn't, I was not connecting with him as a child should connect, as the parent should connect to the child. And I actually had to go into prayers. I had to pray about it. And I got to remember that I should go and study adolescent psychology. And that's when I went back to school. I studied adolescent psychology. And voila, oh my goodness, my eyes were opened. Prior to that, I had done more of childhood psychology to deal with children. But for parents, the first thing you need to know as a parent to an adolescent is that there is a wide, as in the difference between raising an adolescent. Okay, hello, okay, we have some comments. I'm Ajoke, turning in from New Jersey. I have 2 adolescent boys. Thank you for having this class. Hope to learn from it. Okay, thank you. Ibikunle Adedayo. Okay, thank you for joining from Abuja. Thank you. So I had to study adolescent psychology, and there is a whole lot of difference between raising an adolescent and raising a child. So raising your toddler, raising your young child, and raising your adolescent, they're quite different. It's quite with what you're to do, what you're to learn, how you're to understand them. is quite different. So it's very important as parents that you understand every stage of development your child is going through. The early child, the early childhood is different from the mid child, is different from the adolescent, is different from the early adulthood. So for parents on this masterclass, I just want to, you're just lucky to be here. You're lucky because you're going to learn a lot from what I have to say. So from my experience, so I said my son was always shouting, was always getting angry, was always, the behavior he was exhibiting was quite different from the boy I knew prior to his adolescent years. And apart from getting frustrated, when he's trying to communicate and we do not understand him, he gets frustrated, and the next thing he will do is to pick his ball. He goes to we have a football pitch outside our compound. He goes to the football pitch and starts kicking. So he was transferring all the aggression on the ball and the pitch. But I was like, thank God he even had an outlet um pour his frustration on. So imagine a child that doesn't even have this outlet to transfer or to pour out his emotion. What would the child do? The child may end up beating his younger ones or get a physical with people around. So I was like, oh my goodness, what is happening? What is happening? Why this? And thank God I went for a course on adolescent psychology. I know the thing about adolescent psychology is that, like I said, the children are different. At this developmental age, there are a lot of things you need to know. Apart from the emotions, apart from the physical development, there are ways you are to raise them. The way you raise them, your parenting style will change from what it used to be. So it's very important for parents to understand this particular developmental stage. Apart from him always getting frustrated, he was also questioning instructions. So you give him an instruction, you tell him to go and do something, and he would question that instruction. I was like, what is happening here? He would argue, would always want to be right. At a point in time, we told me that I think it's better you go into the legal profession, the way you're always arguing and all that. But thankfully, I was able to understand him better when I went for this training. And so that's why I'll be sharing all the things I learned. So now I have 3 adolescents. My oldest son is going to be 17. The boy I'm talking about now is going to be 15. And my daughter is going to be 11. So I have 3 adolescents that I'm raising. And these were the things I discovered. These were the things I got to know about the adolescent stage. So I'll be sharing this with you. So as you're joining, please, I'd like you to tell us where you're watching from. If you have adolescents, how many do you have? What are the age group? And probably the different sexes. So those that have been listening to me narrating about my son, did you have any similar experience while your child became an adolescent? Did you have any similar experience? Did you notice your child always getting angry, trying to always having different mood swings? A lot of things I'll be discussing with you. Was there anything special that you noticed with your child when your child was becoming or transitioning from childhood into adolescence? I'd like you to please put it in the comment section. Okay, so let me continue. So what are the things I learned? So the first thing that you need to know as a parent about your child is you need to know that the adolescent stage is a unique stage. It's a special stage of your child transitioning from childhood to adulthood. And this year takes 10 years, 10 to 11 years, depending on the child. Another thing you need to know that your child, at that point in time, wouldn't want to be treated as a toddler or as a young child. And as a parent, you will not be able to treat him as an adult. Okay, at that is a transition period from childhood into adulthood, and your child, because he's transiting, sees himself no longer as a child. And apart from seeing himself no longer as a child, you, the parent, you cannot treat him as an adult, although the child might be big, but emotionally, the child is not yet developed emotionally, or the child has not yet matured to become an adult. So that's why it's very important as parents that you know how to relate with children within this age bracket. So adolescents are children between the ages of 10 and 21. According to the World Health Organization, adolescents are children between the ages of 10 and 21. Every child is special, every child is unique. Every child will transition from childhood into adulthood at a different time and with different events. So like when I started, I said my older son, when he was transitioning from childhood to adulthood, he didn't give stress. He was not, his own transition was not stressful. It was kind of smooth, but guess what? He had a lot of pimples. He had a lot of all those. His physical sign was more obvious compared to my younger son. But for my younger son, his behavior changed. So one thing I discovered about adolescents is that they would all transition, but they would transition at a different time and with different events. So as parents, you need to know that they will transition at a different time and with different events. Another thing you need to know is that this developmental stage comes with lots of changes, drastic and rapid changes in terms of the physical, changes in terms of the cognitive, changes in terms of the psychosocial, and even spiritual development. I was having a discussion with someone today in church, and I was asking her that when your child was transitioning, was there a point in time that your child said he or she was not going to serve God again, or that he asked questions like, who is God? Does God really exist? And she was like, oh my goodness, yes, that really happened. That's another thing you would notice, because the brain is changing. They started thinking abstractly. They start to question a lot of things that you held, things that were things that are dear to you as a family, your family values, things that you hold as being very important. There are things that they'll start questioning. So as parents, when these things start coming up, I just need you to be cool. Don't get worked up around it. There are things you can do. And that's why I wrote my book, Help, Who is the Stranger in This Home? I wrote quite a lot. I gave quite a lot of tips for parents. Then that's another reason why we at the Smart Parenting Academy, we came up with our training. It's a program for parents of adolescents. It's titled Understanding the Psychology of the Adolescent. I'll talk about that towards the end of this masterclass. So one thing you need to know is that apart from your child changing mentally, physically, psychosocial, emotionally, and also spiritually. Now, one thing you need to know during this stage is that there are lots of mood swings. Your child might have multiple mood swings in a day, and the reason for this is because of the hormones. The body it will be producing lots and lots of hormones. For the girl will start producing estrogens, while the guy start producing testosterone. These are hormones that will aid in the terms of the sexual development. And unfortunately, these hormones are the hormones that gives them all these mood swings. So you can imagine your daughter, 1 minute she's happy, and the next minute she's crying. And you're wondering, why are you crying? What's happening? You're wondering, why are you crying? What's happening? And maybe something not really relevant at that point in time. But to the child, that thing is very relevant. So I tell parents that every emotion your child goes through is important. Every emotion your child is experiencing per time is important. But it's how you handle these emotions that will determine the outcome of the emotion. Will determine how your child will react. So, for example, maybe you just spoke to your child, your girl, or your son, you just said something, and to the child would have translated what you said into several meanings, and the child starts crying. And I wonder, but what did I tell you? And the child goes, well, what you said, it's very hurtful. All these mood swings is all due to the hormone. So as parents, you need to know that all the mood swings is so they become moody, they become irritable, they will have they become frustrated frequently, and like I said, this is due to the chemical changes happening with them. And you'll be wondering what is happening. The child starts snapping at his younger one. That was what I noticed. That one with my son, he was always snapping at his younger sister, and his younger sister was like his bestie. They're very close before he became an adolescent. And all of a sudden he just says any small thing, he starts slapping at the girl. What is it? What? I was like, oh God, what is, calm down, please, calm down. Don't shout at my daughter, you understand? So for parents, these are the signs, these are the different traits you'll be seeing. These are things, so I'm going to highlight the different characteristics I noticed, I wish I knew about before they became adolescents. So puberty too sets in, once your child starts, clocks 10, 11, puberty starts in. I know puberty comes with its own drama. Lots of pimples for the pimples will come on the face. Menstruation will start for the girls. The boys will have their voice become cracked and all that. Nocturnal emission, all sorts of puberty comes with its own, and that's where your child now start becoming self aware, more self-aware. For the guys, do you remember your boy that you used to tell to go and have his bath like 10 times in a day? And he would say, no, mom, I'm okay. All of a sudden, he starts wanting to look good. He starts wanting to, those are characteristics of adolescence. These are things you need to watch out for. And when your child is doing this, please, I need you to just encourage him. That's for the ones that want to become more like when I had a class last year, I said they become more vain. They become more conscious of their body. For the girls, they become conscious of the fact that they're growing breasts. They always start covering up in the room. They start running into the room, and they start covering up. And you're like, what are you covering up there? It's the girl needs privacy. You have to start giving the child privacy. Now, another thing you need to know is that for the fact the child is growing taller, for the fact the girl is filling up and looking like a lady, emotionally that child is not yet matured. For the fact the child is looking tall, for the child is looking big, there are certain things you might still have to start reminding the child. So imagine you have a child that is as tall as, maybe taller than you, and you're still reminding the child about certain things. That could actually be frustrating at times for parents. So it's when these things happen, you just need to know that, okay, I have to give him like a checklist. We do like a routine, and there are things you just have to help him out with. And I tell parents that this period of adolescence is when you change your parenting style. That was another thing I learned. Your parenting style will have to change from you controlling the child, from you trying to be in charge of his life, from you trying to dictate certain things for him, to you now coaching him. I know the work of the coach is just to supervise, just to support, and allow the players to, for the football players, I use football players now, the coach will not be on the football pitch with the player. Rather, the coach will be at the background, sorting things out. Okay, you go this way, you do this, what do you think? You have to start communicating and start asking questions and start dialoguing with your child. You have to start negotiating with your child at this point in time. That was another thing I learned, that they would negotiate things. Unlike before, where you tell them A and they just go run with A. Now they'll start questioning. Why are they questioning you? Because brain is developed. Happening, mommy, you said XYZ yesterday, but today I don't think it's like that. I know that's one thing that parents actually dislike, their children questioning them, their children asking, questioning their decision. But most times I tell parents that when this happens, the child is just asking questions to know more. The child is not questioning you to um to bring down your authority or anything. The child is just questioning to know more. Then another thing you need to know is that apart from these characteristics I've stated, your child, your adolescent also have some emotional needs that he or she has to fulfill. And as parents, we need to know about their emotional needs so you can guide them in fulfilling these emotional needs. So one of the needs that they would always want, or one of their needs is that the need things himself, that to wants to become more independent, wants to be different from his parents. He wants to start, your child start seeing things in a different ways, wants to start making decisions by himself. That is one thing you would notice about them. So for parents, I always tell them that when you want to go home, invite them, ask them, what do you think? It's as good as you just respecting them and letting them feel part of, they feel part of all the decision making, governing council of the home. So it's important that you help them to fulfill this need by allowing them to take certain decisions in the home. Another thing you need to know is that this is the time they want to start exerting their uniqueness. I said every child is unique. Every child, when they're transiting from childhood into adolescent, they do it in a unique way, not necessarily the same way you were transitioning, or their older brother or their older sister will be the same way they too will transition. So during this stage, they are seeking autonomy. They want to be different. They want to have their own identity. They want to be independent. They want to show you that they have the ability, that they're capable of doing certain things. And this is one thing I noticed about my younger son then. There are certain tasks that I just assume that, oh, you won't be able to do it. I'm like, mommy, but I can do it. I'm like, no, I've never seen you doing this before. But I was like, mommy, I can. They want to show you that they're capable of certain tasks. So for parents, it's important that we allow them, let's give them that leverage, or let's give them that space to show their capability, to show their uniqueness, to show their abilities. Is very important. The second need for adolescent is the need for belonging. Now, when I talk about belonging, they want to start affiliating more with their peers. They want to get themselves away from that family, their sibling. They want to now start affiliating more with their peers. They want to have friends. They want to have a body. They want to have like cliques, And as parents, it's important during this period. I tell parents that, see, always look for families that have children around the same age group as your children. Families that their family values. Their family values are similar to yours. Family who shares the same ideology as your family. So when they're picking their friends, they would pick friends that might share the same family values with yours. And another thing I tell parents, I say, when your child is coming home with a friend, or when your child is always talking about a friend, it's important that you get to know who that friend is. But as parents, don't tell them not to have friends. Don't lock them up in the room. Don't lock them up in the house. Don't tell them, oh, you cannot go visiting. You are indirectly killing them, because one of their needs during this age group is the need to belong. The need to affiliate with other persons. The need to affiliate with other children of their age. It's very important that as parents that we help them to fulfill this need, allow them to have friends. But when they're picking friends, as parents, I tell parents, see, you need to be able to have them instill your own family values in them, so that when they're picking friends, they'll pick friends that are similar or they pick friends that share the same family values or share the same ideology as your family. It's very important. Then the third need is that of control. It's almost similar to the one of independence. They want to be in control of their time. They want to be in control of their space. They want to have their personal space. They want to be in control of their property, their clothing. They just want to be in charge. And as parents, it's very important that you guide them. It's very important that you guide them through this process of wanting to be in charge, of wanting to have things. And one thing you need to know is that when it comes to your rules and regulations, the rules and regulations that ordinarily they used to obey, they used to follow, they would start breaking these rules. I was like, no wonder. Why? Because they're just trying to test boundaries. They want to explore and assess their individuality. They want to know how far mommy would go. So that's why at times they'll set certain rules, and they will break those rules to test you. Now, for parents that are not consistent with their discipline plan, if you've not created a discipline plan, it's something I'll talk about at the end of this masterclass. For parents that are not consistent with their discipline plan, the child will just keep breaking the rule. And as a parent, you just keep getting upset, keep shouting and screaming and doing all sorts at the child. So you should be ready. They will try to test your boundaries. They'll try to test your rules. They want to see how far you would go. Somebody said, I remember somebody told me one time that, see, if your child is testing you 100 times, you as a parent, be ready to stand your ground 101 times. They will keep testing your rules. And that's why I tell parents, before you set rules in the house, it's very important that you have a communication with them. It's very important you have a meeting with them where you all come together to discuss the rules you are setting. Very important. Then another thing you need to know that during this stage, another thing I learned is that they are very adventurous. They are very daring. They want to try out things. They get excited easily. They want to prove a point to their friends. They want to let their friends to know that, oh, I can do it too. And all this is just due to the hormones in them, the dopamine, the feel good and hormone oxytocin. They just want to feel good. Anything they try, and that thing gives them a high. When I talk about high now, not high as in that thing gets them excited, or that thing is pleasurable to them. They will want to keep doing it. And that's why it's important for parents that you need to have had the sex conversation with them before they become adolescents. You need to speak to them about the trap of the pornography industry. You need to speak, and these are things we talk about during this course, how to start the sex conversation with your adolescents, how to, these are things we're going to discuss, how to start the sex conversation, how to improve your home, then how to, even in terms of the usage of phone. This is the period that they're always on the phone. Why? Because of the fact that they need to connect with their friends, they need to belong to their clique, they need to belong to their peer group. They're always on the phone. That was another thing I learned, that their friends are important to them. And because their friends are important to them, anything you want to do to break that connection with their friend, they would always try to rebel against it. So their phones too. So we have another course on when to give your child a phone, the etiquette of the internet, sites they can go to. These are discussions that should be ongoing in your home. So those are another thing I learned. Then another thing you need to do as parents, you need to know is that because they are seeking independence, you need to equip them with skills. You need to equip them with skills. You need to equip them with life skills when it comes to them. Because once they're seeking independence, they want to, they no longer want to be dependent on you. They want to start being dependent on themselves. And if a child has not been taught certain skills, the child will go out there and mess up. So it's very important as parents that you teach your children certain life skills in terms of being accountable, life skills like leadership skills, skills like being able to be assertive, emotional, a lot of skills that you need to teach them during this stage. Then finally, I'll talk about discipline and communication. Once you have a child as an adolescent, like I said, the person is is no longer a child per se, and the person is also not an adult. So the way you communicate with the person, the way you just no, when I start, I said you need to have like a discipline plan. You need to have a discipline plan. The way you discipline adults is quite different from the way you discipline or you correct a younger child. It's quite different from the way you correct a toddler. So as parents of adolescents, what are the ways you can first thing first, you need to know that before you can say you're correcting, you're teaching, you're instilling any discipline into your adolescent, your child needs to know that you love and care for him or her. If the child cannot understand, cannot feel the love from you, it will be hard for you to instill the discipline, and it will be hard for you to correct any wrong behavior. Another thing you need to know is that apart from love, your child needs to trust you. Your child needs to know that if I tell my mommy anything, that thing will stay with my mom. And a third party would not hear about it. A fourth party will not hear about it. So love and trust, these are two major elements that should be like the bedrock of your relationship with your adolescents. They need to know that you love them. They're going through a lot. I tell parents that, see, I need you to go back to when you were a teenager. Go back to when you were an adolescent. Can you remember those things you were doing then? Can you see those things in your children now? What your children are doing? How did you feel then when your parents reacted to you in a certain way? How did you feel then? It's the same way your child is feeling now. I was discussing with someone recently, and I told the person that I remember when I was younger, and I just always wanted to be with my friends. And my mom was like, what is it that you people are always talking about? Truly, we're not really discussing anything meaningful. But the fact that I had a friend and I was always around her gave me a lot of joy. You know, someone different from my brother, someone different from my mom and my father. And it's the same way with your children. So before you do anything, before you try to castigate them, before you try to correct or discipline them, I need you to always put yourself in their shoes. What do you think is going what do you think is going on in his mind? Why do you think what do you think why would he behave like this? And that's why questioning is a great tool in raising your adolescent. The act of being able to ask questions, the act of you asking them questions. So what do you think? You know, I tell parents that, see, when it comes to raising adolescents, just don't give advice. They don't need your advice. They just want you to listen to them. So when they come with their troubles, when they come with their issues, I always ask, so what do you think? What do you think we can do? What do you think? What do you need to do? How can you improve this situation? How can you make this situation better? Always ask them the question. Let them start thinking. Let them start thinking for themselves. Because that's part of being an adolescent anyway. The fact that they want to start thinking, the fact they want to start doing things by themselves. It's very important that we ask questions. Communication, when it comes to communication, your communication should now be with more of respect. You know, not you shouting and yelling and screaming at them. It has to do with you now talking with them, negotiating with them, reasoning with them. And you know, the thing about adolescents is that they want to be treated like adults, although they're not yet adults. They don't want to be treated like children, because to them, they feel they're no more children. So it's very important that you start negotiating with them, you start discussing with them, start asking them questions. You know, you have to start learning, you have to start using your listening skills more. Do more of listening, because there are times they'll come and talk to you. They really don't want your advice. All they want is just for you to listen to them. You know, but as parents, we are quick to start giving them advices. We are quick to start trying to help them solve their problems. but they don't want that. They want to solve the problems themselves. They're just discussing it with you because they want you to like listen to them. They're looking for someone that they can talk to or someone they can talk with. So it's so important. So it's because of all these things that I noticed about my son when I went for the training, the adolescent psychology training, that with our Smart Parenting Academy, we decided to come up with a course. The course is titled the Understanding the Psychology of Your Adolescents. And this course now runs for 4 weeks. Before, the course used to be just a 2 days course where we teach, where we give, we teach. But now it's more of a coaching course now. It's a coaching program now that runs for 4 weeks, where we work with parents on how they can understand the adolescents. We give a lot of assessments. We give personality assessments, learning the learning abilities assessment. We give assessments on the different skills and ability they have. Another thing we do during this 4 weeks program is that we teach on emotional intelligence, how you can help your child to overcome his frequent frustration, how you can help your adolescent to manage his emotions. Apart from that, we also run a program on sexuality education. So every week, there's a particular topic we'll treat, that we'll discuss, and you have own place to go home to do, where you would work with your child. You come back, discuss with us. We have a meeting day where you discuss with us, and we'll coach. It's a coaching program for parents, but it's titled Understanding the Psychology of Your Adolescent. Here you're going to learn a lot about the adolescent, sex education. You're going to learn about drugs, and also learn about how to improve your house. You're going to learn about how to communicate, positive communication with the children, and also how to create a discipline plan. This program runs for 4 weeks, and the cost of the program is actually 100,000. But for this period, we're giving a discount, and we're giving a discount of 25%. So it's going for 75,000. So for parents that are interested in this training, in this coaching program, we would send you you're going to learn how we're going to work, the modalities and the framework behind this coaching program. I want to say thank you that has been on this call. This training this free masterclass is meant to be for just 40 minutes now. So in case you have any question, you can type your question in the comment section, and I'll use the next 15 minutes. I'll use the next 15 minutes to respond to the question. Hello, do you have any question? If we have any question, can we drop our question in the, what's on the, can we drop our question in the comment section, and I would get back. So we have, thank you for joining. So let me start. We have Ajsal, thank you for joining. Bukul, thank you for joining. Susan, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Frida, thank you for joining. So if we have any question, let's put our question there. If not, let me talk more about the coaching program. So like I said, the coaching program is a 4-week program, 4 weeks program, where we're going to discuss the different areas in terms of understanding your child's psychology. We're going to talk about the different area of development and what to expect, how you can support and changes. So we're going to start with physical development. We're going to have a lot of discussion, physical development, what to expect, how your children. We're going to talk about the emotional development, how they can become emotionally intelligent, how you, the parent, can help your child to become more emotionally. You can help your child to manage his emotions. There are tools we're going to work with. We'll also talk about sexuality education, the things your children need to know about sex and sexuality. We'll also be talking about drugs and pornography, how your child can be free from these these two vices. And also we'll be talking about discipline, how to create a discipline plan, and also how to start communicating positively with your children. So for those interested, I'm going to put the link. I'm going to send out the link. It's starting on the 15th of April. The coaching program starts on 15th of April. For parents, should I buy it or not? I don't understand. What are you buying, please? Oh, my son, my 14-year-old wants a phone, costs £400. Wow. So do you know why he needs the phone? So one of the things I tell parents, when your child comes up with anything, always find the root cause behind that. Why does he need a £400 phone? Is the phone, or is it going to, is it something that's going to add to his, is it something that's adding to, can you afford it? If you can afford it, why does he want to have a £400 phone? It's very important as parents that you understand the reason behind every action your child takes. Because when you understand the reason behind the action, it helps you to understand the child better and helps you to either buy into the reason or advice otherwise. It's an online course. Yes, it's an online course. It's going to be an online course. It's going to run for 4 weeks. At the beginning of the week, we're going to sell our materials to you. We'll have actually every Sunday, like this, every Sunday like this, we'll have like a coaching session where I'll talk to you, we'll have discussion. Then at the beginning of every week, we sell our materials that we would use. In terms of the assessment, I spoke about assessment. You're going to have like an assessment. You're going to assess your child. And the thing about parenting starts with you. So the first week is about you having the right mindset about raising your adolescents. That's why we're talking about the psychology of your adolescents. What is going on in his brain? What is going on in his mind? What your adolescent really wants at that point in time. Then every other week we have different content that we'll be taking, different topics. I said we're talking about sexuality education. We're going to have drug and pornography education. We're going to have positive discipline, how to create a positive discipline plan in the home. We'll discuss about it, and also how to create and how to have a positive communication, how you communicate with your child. Very important. Okay, so Susan, you said it is his birthday. If you can afford the £400 phone, and you think it's important and it's necessary, there's nothing wrong with it. If your child wants the phone because the phone is going to be useful to him in terms of maybe your child is into an IT thing or something, there's nothing wrong. But if you cannot afford to buy a £400 phone, please, I don't think you need to break the bank to get your son a phone. So, any other question? Susan, thank you. Any other question? Do you have any other question? So for those interested in this coaching program, please, you could indicate or you can send me a message and I'll send the details to you. The things we're going to do, I've already spoken about the things we're going to discuss. It's a 4-week program where you would understand your child. And I know the good thing about understanding your child's developmental changes is that it helps you in your own parenting journey. It makes your parenting journey easier and you become more empathetic towards the child. So, for example, you see your child acting one kind,
or they see a certain behavior, a child comes up with a certain behavior, you already understand where or why the child is behaving like that, you know. And those are the things you're going to learn. You're going to learn the psychology of your adolescence. It's a 4 weeks program where I will work with parents on how to reconnect with the child. For those that don't have a good relationship with their children, you will start by connecting with the child. You know, when I was talking, I said, if you do not, if your child does not perceive you loving him, if your child does not perceive that he can trust you, it will be difficult for you to be able to instill or to discipline or teach or train the child. So those are the first things we start with. Your mindset as a parent, connecting with the child. Then we also talk about the psychology of the adolescent, the different things that they go through. And as a parent, you need to understand. The moment you understand their psychology, it will be easier for you to deal with them, it will be easier for you to raise them. It will be easier, you'll be more empathetic when you see certain behaviors coming up because you already understand the psychology of their concept. If we do not have any other question, I'll be ending here. Thank you very much for everyone that joined. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that we have quite a number of people joining, watching, leaving their comments and all that. I think it's too costly, and I think it was issue. So if you then I think you need to have a discussion with your child. Let him understand the reason you're not going to deal with £400 phone and explain to him, let him reason with you, and let him pick another phone that is not as expensive as that. So thank you everyone. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming for this free masterclass, and I hope you're signing up for this 4 weeks program. Have a nice day. Bye.